Live Foundation is a nonprofit public charity, a 501c3, that my wife and I started 5 years ago, about 2 weeks after the suicide death of our teenage son, Will. He was a 15-year-old freshman at Northview High School here in Johns Creek, and when he took his life, not only were my wife and I absolutely stunned and shocked, but so were his siblings, and so were all of his friends. We had absolutely no idea that our boy, big, strong, handsome, healthy, successful, popular, a great athlete, a great musician, and a great student, was struggling. We had no idea. He was living what we thought was a perfect life, and then he died of his own hand. Immediately, literally immediately, people started coming out of the woodwork. The day he died, the weekend of his death, the funeral, and the days after, people from all over this area came to me with a story of suicide in their life. I had no idea how prevalent it was. 1 in 6 suffer from depression. 1 in 10 college kids have a plan to take their lives. I had no idea. Nobody ever talks about it. And during that weekend of Will's death, I knew that I had to find a way to talk about it. I just didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know what venue, what avenue I would pursue to be able to make other people aware that teen suicide is an absolute epidemic. Every 2 hours in America, a teenager takes their lives. It's unbelievable. So at my son's funeral, I gave the eulogy, something no parent should ever have to do. And I stood up there in front of 1,500 people in the church. And as I was talking to Will's teammates, to his friends, I started to see my teammates. I started to see my friends. I grew up in Chicago, Illinois. There were teammates of mine from 30 years before who were in that audience in Atlanta 3 days after my son died. I didn't call them. I didn't call anyone. But they found out that their friend was in need. And they traveled, some of them traveled thousands of miles to be there for me. And as I looked at those friends of mine, those life friends, the groomsmen in my wedding, the godfathers to my kids, I realized right then and there what I was going to do. Because every one of those friends, the greatest friends I ever had, were my friends when I was a teenager. And at that point, it hit me that this foundation was going to work with teenagers to simply get them to recognize that they have already met the greatest friends that they're ever going to have. Their groomsmen, their bridesmaids, their maid of honor, their best men, their godparents to their kids. These friends will be with them through all their wonderful experiences. These are the friends that they're experiencing their firsts. And never again in their lives will they be surrounded all day long by people their own age. So you develop these bonds as teenagers that stick with you your whole life. And Will just didn't know that. And I thought, gosh, if he just would have understood that he already had these close friends, maybe he would have reached out and talked to them. Maybe he would have said something. Maybe he would have said, I'm not right, I don't feel good, I'm depressed, whatever it might be. And at that point, I knew I had a focus, I had a purpose for this foundation. I was going to get these kids to recognize the true love they have in each other. And by doing that, I was going to hopefully increase their will to live. There it was, the Will to Live Foundation. And that's really how it came to be. And here we are 5 years later. We've raised close to $1 million. There's over 60,000 teenagers across America wearing Life Teammate, Love Ya Man wristbands. There are concerts. There are 5K runs. There are Team Will to Live lacrosse teams, Team Will to Live baseball teams, all organized and implemented and owned by the kids. The foundation's motto is for the kids, through the kids, by the kids. And it's a wonderful thing. And we have found a very positive way. We talk about life teammates. We talk about saying, I love you to each other. We say, love you, man. We have found a positive way to raise awareness of one of the most negative issues you could ever think of. And in doing this, you know what really started to happen? The parents began to buy into it because the kids got it. It was an easy sell to the kids. They know their life is hard. Being a teenager today is nothing like being a teenager when I was growing up. And I tell parents, your kids have it harder than you do. I tell coaches, your players have it harder than you do. I tell counselors, I tell ministers, I tell scouting leaders, your students, the kids that you are trying to shape and motivate and inspire, they have it harder than you did when you were their age. It's a 24/7 world. Everything they do is on the internet. Whether they have a good day or a bad day, every person they know sees it. We did not have to deal with that. If you want to be an athlete, I was a Major League Baseball player, but I played 3 sports for as long as I could, all the way through graduating from high school. I didn't have to specialize on baseball till I was college age. Today, they have to specialize at age 10. It's crazy. Dreams are ending long before these kids even have a chance to develop. If I had to specialize on something at age 10 or 11, it probably wouldn't have been baseball. But back in 1975, society let me grow up into myself because I was a different person when I was 17 versus when I was 10 or 11 or 12. Today, that's not the case. And we parents need to understand that. We coaches need to understand that. So that's what the foundation does. It tries to make the parents and the coaches just aware that yes, they have it great. They have wonderful opportunities. But with these opportunities that are coming to these kids at a much younger age, there are much more challenges. There are much more pressures, unlike anything we had to face at that young age. And so this concept of raising the awareness of teen suicide awareness, raising the awareness that you've already met as a teenager your best friends, and raising this awareness to parents and coaches and the trusted adults in our teenagers' lives, that the teenagers today have it hard, and they need to see from us understanding of it. I never did that with Will. I always told him it was great. I never said, wow, this is hard. I wish I did. But you know what? To Will's siblings, he has 3 of them. They hear from me every day how hard it is. Wow, this is hard. I didn't have to do that. How are we going to do this? And I see a difference in the way that they respond because they recognize that maybe I get them. I fear that Will never said, Dad gets me. But now my other kids, I think they do realize that I do get them. I do understand them. And I'm a better parent for it. I'm a better trusted adult in the lives of teenagers for it. So a pretty long answer for how the foundation came about, but that's how it is, and I'm so proud of it, and we're so excited about it, and it's a wonderful, wonderful way to get kids to recognize that they've already met the true love and the true hope in their lives at this young age.